picture this scenario. It is a perfectly reasonable Sunday. You're watching a grown, fully employed adult, let's call him Khalifa. He is sitting in a comfortable living room.
Right, completely safe.
Yeah, completely safe. The temperature is regulated. There are no predators in sight, but he is absolutely inconsolable. I mean, genuine grief. His heart rate is peaking. His palms are sweating. His digestion has completely shut down.
Like he's literally being chased by a lion.
Exactly. And his cortisol levels are spiking. And why? Because a stranger, like 3,000 miles away, just kicked a piece of leather into a net in the 89th minute.
It sounds completely absurd when you frame it that way. I mean, it really does. But you are describing a very real, very intense physiological event.
We see this all the time, right? And then meanwhile, sitting right next to him is someone else. Let's call her Maria. And she's got like 3 different screens going.
Oh, yeah, the multi-screeners.
Right. She's tracking Liverpool, the Golden State Warriors, the Philadelphia Eagles all at once. She is basically operating like an emotional air traffic controller, just orchestrating her own stress levels across multiple time zones.
And from the outside,
Yeah,
that behavior looks wildly irrational. I mean, why would anyone willingly subject themselves to that kind of chemical roller coaster when they have absolutely zero influence over the outcome?
which is exactly the core mission of our deep dive today. We are pulling from this incredible breakdown by Coach Jacky, which features the N.I.T.T.I Framework, alongside some really fascinating research into the neuroscience of fandom.
Yeah, the sources are just phenomenal on this.
They really are. Our goal is to make this extreme emotional investment make sense, because we're going to show you that this isn't about people just being, dramatic.
Right.
We are looking at 10,000 years of tribal psychology, ancient survival software, and incredibly complex neuroscience, all just wrapped up in a replica team jersey.
It's a great lens to view human behavior through. We're going to explore the specific biological triggers that hijack our nervous systems, the psychological sunk costs that keep us coming back for more punishment.
Because we always come back.
We always do. And how our brains literally fail to distinguish between a game on a flat-screen TV and a real life-or-death battle for survival.
So whether you're the person screaming at the television or you're the person sitting quietly on the couch next to them just wondering why they need 2 full business days to recover from a Kansas City Chiefs game, this deep dive is going to completely change how you view sports. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Before we get into the intense biological reactions, the sweat, the stress, the tears, we really have to establish why the human brain even cares about strangers playing a game in the first place.
Right, the foundation.
Yeah, and the sources point to a concept identified back in the 1970s by a researcher named Robert Cialdini. He called it burging, B-I-R-G-ing, basking in reflected glory.
Yeah, Cialdini was observing university campuses, and he noticed a really predictable behavioral pattern. On the Monday, after a major college football team won a game, there would just be this dramatic surge in the number of students wearing clothing with the school's logos and colors.
Like everyone suddenly found their hoodies.
Exactly. People who had absolutely nothing to do with the actual athletic achievement were emotionally and publicly recruiting themselves into the victory.
And it comes with that highly specific, almost involuntary pronoun shift. When the team wins, people say, "We won."
Yep.
That has always been wild to me. I mean, saying "we won" when you were sitting on your couch in pajamas is like claiming you helped cook a Michelin star meal just because you ate at the restaurant.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Right. You didn't chop any onions. You didn't play any defense. But then when the team loses, the phenomenon flips. It becomes corfing, cutting off, reflected failure. Suddenly, the pronoun shifts to "they lost."
What's fascinating here is your brain fundamentally disagrees with your Michelin star analogy.
Wait, really?
Yeah. At a deep neurological level, the limbic system, which is the emotional and survival center of your brain, it does not care that you aren't physically on the field. That part of your brain evolved thousands of years ago to attach you to a tribe.
And constantly monitor that tribe's status, right?
Exactly. Historically, if your tribe lost a battle, you lost access to food, shelter, mates. To your ancient brain software, survival equals your group winning.
Wait, but that sounds like a massive evolutionary glitch. Because if the brain genuinely thinks it's in a life or death tribal war, why don't fans, physically attack the television or sprint out of the house in terror?
Well, they do sometimes attack the television.
Okay, fair point. But generally they stay on the couch. There has to be some part of the prefrontal cortex that knows the threat is fake.
Yeah, you are touching on the exact tension between our modern and ancient brains. Your prefrontal cortex, The logical, forward-thinking part is the only thing keeping you seated. It knows it's a television show, but it's relatively slow compared to the limbic system.
So the limbic system reacts first.
Always. When a player on your team gets violently tackled or misses a crucial shot, a specialized network of mirror neurons in your brain fires instantly.
Mirror neurons.
Right. They're designed to help humans learn through imitation and experience empathy. They literally mirror the actions and emotions you are observing. So while your logical brain knows you are safe, your mirror neurons are flooding your system with the exact physical and emotional states of the athletes on the screen.
So you are emotionally playing the game from your living room.
Precisely.
And according to the social identity research in our sources, this isn't just a trivial hobby. Fan identification is actually a massive predictor of emotional well-being and life satisfaction.
It's huge for mental health.
Yeah, the data shows that sports fans are 3 times more likely to report feeling lonely if they suddenly lose access to their sports community. I mean, fandom is essentially a bulwark against modern isolation.
It fulfills a deeply rooted psychological need for connection. I mean, the brain wants a tribe. But because the limbic system thinks it is actively participating in a tribal conflict, it deploys the exact same chemical responses you would need if you were actually dodging a spear.
Wow. Let's get into the mechanics of that biological roller coaster because it completely dismantles the whole "it's just a game" argument. Let's start with dopamine.
Ah, dopamine.
Yeah, most people just loosely define dopamine as the reward chemical. You know, you win a prize, you get a hit of dopamine. But Stanford research highlighted in our sources reveals a much more complicated mechanism.
Yeah, dopamine is actually an anticipation chemical. Its primary function is to keep you engaged and motivated before the reward happens.
Before? Okay.
Right. And it fires most intensely during periods of high uncertainty. If a team is winning 5-0, the outcome is predictable. The brain doesn't need to pay close attention, so the dopamine levels just flatten out.
Because there's no mystery.
Exactly. But a nail-biting close game, a scenario where your team is down by 1 goal with 2 minutes left.
The brain just dumps dopamine to keep you hyper-focused because the outcome is unknown. So the hope, the suspense, is the actual drug.
The brain is actively trying to predict the future to ensure your survival. When the outcome is unclear, the cognitive effort just goes through the roof. That explains why watching a closely contested game can feel incredibly intoxicating.
Or utterly exhausting.
Or exhausting, yeah.
And speaking of exhausting, we have to talk about cortisol. A 2021 study looked at fans' salivary cortisol levels, cortisol being the body's primary stress hormone during major playoff losses.
The saliva swabs, right?
Yeah. And the researchers found that fan cortisol spiked 2.4 times higher than their normal baseline. I mean, that is biological stress comparable to encountering a moderate, real-world physical threat.
The physical symptoms are undeniable. Your heart rate accelerates to pump oxygen to your limbs for a fight or flight response. Your palms sweat to cool the body down. Your digestive system literally pauses.
Wait, it pauses.
Yeah, because digesting your lunch is not a priority if you're about to be eaten by a predator. So your friend Dino, snapping at the TV over a bad referee call, isn't just choosing to be in a bad mood. His nervous system is actively preparing him for physical combat.
Here's where it gets really interesting. All of this intense physiological preparation is happening to people who are mostly sitting perfectly still.
Right, on a sofa.
Yeah, their hormones are being completely rewired by pixels on a screen. The breakdown cites the 1998 Bernhardt study, which tracked testosterone levels. They proved that testosterone in male fans rises by 20% after a victory and plummets by 20% after a loss.
It's incredible.
These are couch sitters experiencing the exact same hormonal fluctuations as the athletes who just spent 2 hours sprinting and tackling each other.
It really highlights how deeply our biology is tied to our social identity. But it isn't all stress and aggression. The chemical cocktail also includes oxytocin.
The bonding chemical.
Exactly. It's the same chemical that facilitates bonding between a parent and a newborn, or between romantic partners. When you are packed into a stadium or a pub or even just a group chat, chanting the same songs and feeling the same tension, oxytocin is just flooding your brain.
So, as the breakdown astutely points out, sports fandom is fundamentally a love story.
It is. It really is.
But every intense love story comes with the risk of a brutal breakup. The sources explain that when a team loses, especially when a win was heavily anticipated, the dopamine that was flooding your brain during the uncertainty doesn't just return to normal levels. It drops significantly below baseline.
Right. And in neuroscience, This is known as a prediction error. Your brain was heavily anticipating a reward. It primed the pumps, so to speak. When the reality fails to match the prediction, the brain cuts off the chemical supply sharply.
Plunging you into a sudden deficit.
Yeah, it's chemical crash.
And the sources note that a significant sports loss activates the anterior cingulate cortex. Why is that specific part of the brain so important?
Because the anterior cingulate cortex is the exact same pathway that processes genuine neurological grief, social rejection, and even physical pain.
Wow.
The brain doesn't have a separate, less intense sports folder. To the anterior cingulate cortex, a severed social bond is a severed social bond. Whether you were just banished from your nomadic tribe in antiquity or your favorite team just got eliminated from the playoffs.
That perfectly explains the statistic that 79% of fans report their mood being negatively affected for 24 hours or more after a big loss. I mean, they are experiencing a very real, measurable grief response.
Absolutely.
But this brings up a massive contradiction. If the physical toll of losing is this severe, if your cortisol is spiking, your testosterone is crashing, and you are being pushed into a neurological state of mourning, why on earth do fans stay loyal to teams that constantly disappoint them?
It's the ultimate question. If you touch a malfunctioning appliance and it gives you a violent electric shock, you stop touching it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is basic self-preservation. Yet sports fans routinely go back to the appliance, knowing they are highly likely to get shocked again.
Take Karani, one of the case studies highlighted in the breakdown. He supports Manchester United, a team that, as the source politely frames it, currently requires an immense amount of emotional resilience.
That's a very polite way of putting it.
Right. So why doesn't he just pick a new team?
The research on early psychological development answers this. Team loyalty formed before the age of 12 has an average lifespan of 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah, it is incredibly stubborn. Karani's attachment was formed during a golden era of Manchester United. That specific neural imprint of excellence, joy, and community was stamped into his developing brain as a child.
So the brain simply refuses to overwrite that foundational imprint just because the current statistical reality has changed.
Exactly. To abandon the team wouldn't just be changing his entertainment preferences. It would mean severing a piece of his childhood identity.
So it's basically hope fueled by a very long, very stubborn memory. But then you have someone like Paulo. He supports the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, these are not franchises you choose if you are looking for easy, guaranteed championships.
No, definitely not.
The breakdown categorizes him as the underdog romantic. So what is the psychological hook for someone intentionally choosing a difficult path like that?
Paulo is experiencing what behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner called variable ratio reinforcement. Skinner demonstrated through operant conditioning that rewards delivered on an unpredictable schedule produce the most persistent, obsessive behavior.
It's like a malfunctioning vending machine.
Yes.
If you put $1 in a vending machine and it never gives you a soda, you just walk away. If it always gives you exactly one soda, it's a simple, boring transaction.
Very boring.
But if you put $1 in, and sometimes it eats your money, sometimes it gives you nothing, and then occasionally it spits out 3 sodas and a candy bar, you will stand in front of that machine all day, shaking it, completely addicted to the uncertainty.
That is the perfect analogy. The near miss is actually the most addictive part of the cycle. If a team wins all the time, the dopamine hit flattens out. It becomes expected.
Right.
If they lose constantly without ever showing promise, you eventually disengage. But if they give you intermittent reinforcement, if they almost win, the unpredictability is exactly what hooks the nervous system. You are optimizing your emotional investment for the thrill of maybe this time.
It is entirely legal emotional gambling.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the athletic competition itself is actually secondary. The actual product these fans are fiercely consuming isn't the sport, it's the community.
The community.
Leaving a chronically disappointing team makes logical sense if you only care about winning, but it carries a massive social cost. Leaving means leaving the pub. It means exiting the daily group chat.
Oh, leaving the group chat is a huge deal.
Right. It means abandoning the shared language of inside jokes, the collective groans over terrible management decisions, and the shared history.
So the human need for the group chat outweighs the pain of the loss.
Basically, yes.
And some people have figured out how to strategize around this biological trap. The breakdown profiles Lynette, who utilizes a concept called a golden triangle.
This is so smart.
It really is. She supports Arsenal, the Golden State Warriors, and the Philadelphia Eagles. She is intentionally diversifying her emotional portfolio.
Just like finances.
Exactly. Arsenal provides the pain, the passion, and the deeply analytical community. The Warriors provide the steady dopamine hits of a successful dynasty. And the Eagles bring pure, unpredictable chaos. She is balancing her cortisol and dopamine by spreading her risk across different emotional ecosystems.
We also see Shiku, an Arsenal fan who treats her fandom as an emotional resilience training program. She has literally become bilingual in both grief and glory.
I love that.
Yeah, these aren't accidental loyalties. These fans are actively, albeit sometimes subconsciously, curating the specific type of emotional environment they want to inhabit.
Okay, so we have established that the brain is running outdated tribal software. We are chemically addicted to unpredictable dopamine hits, and we are held hostage by our deep evolutionary need for community. We are biologically wired to care way too much.
We are.
So what does this all mean? How do we actually survive this? How do we stop a Sunday afternoon loss from ruining a Tuesday morning meeting?
Right. The practical application.
Yes, this is where Coach Jacky's N.I.T.T.I Framework comes in. N.I.T.T.I. It is a highly practical guide for navigating this intense neurochemistry. Let's walk through the mechanics of it. What is the N?
N stands for name it. This requires moving past the superficial knee-jerk reaction of just saying, I'm mad or the referee was terrible.
Because that doesn't actually help.
No, it doesn't. You have to identify the highly specific emotion underneath the anger. Are you feeling exposed and embarrassed because you bragged to your coworkers all week?
We've all been there.
Or are you feeling nostalgic for a time when your life felt simpler, which you associate with this team? Naming the actual emotion forces the prefrontal cortex to start processing the event logically, acknowledging that it isn't just a game, but rather a reflection of your identity.
And once you successfully name the emotion, you move to I investigate it. You have to ask yourself where this massive, disproportionate emotional investment actually originated.
Right. Where did it come from?
Did you inherit this team from a parent? Does watching them play represent the only time you and your siblings actually communicate? You have to investigate the social bonding and the historical brain chemicals that are forcing you to care so deeply about strangers.
And finding that root cause strips away some of the immediate panic, which leads directly into the first T, tame it.
Okay, I have to admit, it is my absolute favorite part of the entire framework because it is hilariously grounded. Taming it means regulating your nervous system. You recognize you are in a biological fight-or-flight state, so you have to bring your prefrontal cortex back online. You take deep breaths, you physically move your body to burn off the adrenaline, and most brilliantly, the framework suggests physically eating a snack to stabilize your blood sugar before kickoff to prevent a meltdown.
I know it sounds like advice you would give a toddler, but it is deeply rooted in human physiology.
It makes so much sense.
You simply cannot reason with a brain that believes it is both starving and under physical attack. A sudden drop in blood sugar exacerbates the cortisol spike.
It makes it worse.
Much worse. By eating a carbohydrate, taking a walk, or doing breathing exercises, you are sending a biological signal to your amygdala that you are safe. You have to lower the physical stress markers before you can address the emotional ones.
That is so practical.
It is. And once you have tamed the physical response, you move to the second, de-transform it.
Now, this step feels like the philosophical core of the framework. Transforming it means recognizing the underlying human values that are being met by this fandom. Values like community, unwavering loyalty, and the pursuit of excellence.
Sports are merely the delivery mechanism for those core values. If a loss is completely destabilizing your week, the framework challenges you to look at your broader life.
Look outside the game.
Exactly. Where else do you belong? Where else do you get to experience collective hope or strive for excellence? If the answer is nowhere, then the loss will always feel catastrophic because the team is carrying the entire burden of your social identity.
And finally, the last I integrate it, this is about pure acceptance. It is accepting that you are someone who cares deeply, passionately, and perhaps a bit irrationally about an outcome over which you have absolutely zero control.
This raises an important question about how modern society views emotional investment in general. We live in a culture that frequently rewards emotional distance. Playing it cool, remaining detached, and acting unfazed is often seen as a sign of sophistication. But showing up fully, wearing your heart on your sleeve for a team that offers absolutely zero guaranteed return on your emotional investment, that is a profound testament to human empathy.
Wow.
It is a beautiful, vulnerable expression of our capacity for connection.
It completely reframes the person screaming at the television. I mean, they aren't crazy, they aren't broken, they are just incredibly deeply human. They are demonstrating an immense ancient capacity for loyalty and shared emotion, operating exactly as their biology intended.
Exactly.
So let's bring this all together. The next time it is a perfectly reasonable Sunday, and you see your friend, maybe it's your own personal Halifa or Maria, just staring blankly at a screen after a devastating 89th minute goal against their team. Do not judge them.
Be kind.
Yes. And whatever you do not tell them it's just a game. Just whisper to yourself, dopamine anticipation, tribal identity, and mirror neurons, and sip your drink in peace. Because the sports themselves are just the vehicle. The real game being played is about belonging, shared emotion, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are.
And that leaves us with one final lingering idea to really mull over.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this time dissecting how our ancient limbic systems can forge these unbreakable life-or-death communal bonds, triggering identical physiological stress responses over complete strangers kicking a ball. But what other artificial tribes in our daily lives are secretly hacking this exact same primal neurochemistry?
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about intense brand loyalties. Think about corporate identities. Think about modern digital communities and the social media algorithms that feed them. How many of those structures are deliberately utilizing this precise biology, the outrage, the dopamine uncertainty, the fear of social exile, to keep us endlessly loyal, stressed, and emotionally invested in their ecosystems?
That is a staggering thought. I mean, are we constantly being enrolled in emotional resilience training programs for our favorite brands and platforms without even realizing it?
The underlying wiring is exactly the same.
That is definitely something to chew on while you are preparing your pre-game blood sugar stabilizing snack. Keep questioning the things that make you care, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.